Our objective in this section is to write equations of circles in the general form by expanding binomials and rearranging terms. So we've seen the equation of circles in the standard form. This equation, for example, of a circle tells us the center by looking at the numbers next to the x and the y, and it tells us the radius by taking the square root of that. This tells us that the center, we can graph it on a coordinate plane, is 3, -4, and that the radius is the square root of 36, or 6. The general form is not as useful. The general form is written this way, where there's no parentheses, the x's and y's come squared and then not squared and constant equals 0. It's the general form. It doesn't tell us the center and the radius, but it does tell us it's a circle. Because there's an x squared and a y squared, we know it's a circle. So this only tells us that we have a circle. If we want to graph it, the standard form is the preferred form. Now, we need to be able to go back and forth between standard and general form, because if we're given general form, we want to be able to graph the circle, so we want standard form. If we're given standard form, we might need to manipulate the equation, and therefore we need general form. So here are things that we're going to have to be able to do. Multiply binomials. Multiplying binomials means expand them. FOIL, we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to factor the trinomials. Now, multiplying binomials, remember the prefix bi means 2, the prefix tri means 3. So we go from a binomial like x minus 3 to a trinomial, 3 terms. We'll look at those soon. Complete the square is the third thing we want to be able to do. Complete the square so that it's easier to factor. So we're going to get more familiar with these things that we learned in Algebra 1, and that we'll need again in Algebra 2. So what is the general form for the equation of a circle? General form, usually it's written as ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equals 0. All those capital letters represent real numbers. In fact, the A and the B always just equal 1 if it's a circle. A equals 1 and B equals 1 when we're working in the general form. General form, notice the x squared and the y squared don't have any number in front. Actually, they do. They have an invisible 1. And that's what it'll always look like for a circle. The C, D, and E, these numbers in front at the end of general form, represent integers. So C, D, and E, I shouldn't write it like that. They don't equal each other. C and D and E are integers. Remember, integers are like whole numbers, except positive and negative, but no fractions, no decimals. So how do we turn an equation from standard form into general form? How do we go in that direction? Well, here we have binomials. So this binomial, we need to get the parentheses to go away. So we need to multiply. We need to expand these binomials. Now again, expand is another way to say we need to multiply them. Then we need to arrange in this order. So then arrange in order, such that we get equals 0 at the end. So let's begin by practicing just expanding binomials. The directions say, practice expanding these binomials. And then we're going to look for a pattern. So what does it mean to square something? It means multiply it to itself. X plus 2 times x plus 2. How do we multiply this? We can call it distribute, or we can call it FOIL. X gets distributed to both terms in the second binomial. X times x makes x squared. X times 2 makes positive 2x. Now we'll distribute the 2. Positive 2 times x makes positive 2x, and positive 2 times positive 2 makes positive 4. Combine the like terms in the middle. X squared plus 4x plus 4. And here is our trinomial. Let's try another one. Y minus 3 times y minus 3. Remember, squared means multiply to itself. Distribute the y. Y times y is y squared. Y times negative 3, negative 3y. Now distribute the negative 3. Negative 3 times y, negative 3y, and negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. Combine the like terms in the middle, and y squared minus 6y plus 9 is our trinomial. Trinomial, 1, 2, 3, 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. Try number 3. Pause the video. Try number 3. Come back and see how you did. So let's write x plus 4 times x plus 4. Distribute the x. X times x is x squared. X times 4 plus 4x. 4 times x plus 4x, and 4 times 4 plus 16. Combine the like terms in the middle, x squared plus 8x plus 16. Now, we can always do it this way. Write it twice and FOIL, or write it twice and distribute. But I like to not have to do as much work. I like to do less work if it's possible and still get the correct answer. So do you see a pattern? Think about what you just saw in number 3. X was the letter. Look what came first. Now, most importantly, with the number, plus 4, and the middle number, positive 8. How do we go from plus 4 to plus 8? Then look at the last number, positive 16. How do we go from positive 4 to positive 16? Look at number 2. The number is negative 3 in the binomial. How do we go from negative 3 to the middle number, negative 6? Is it the same way you thought that we go from positive 4 to positive 8? How about from negative 3 to positive 9? Is it the same way you thought to go from positive 4 to positive 16? Would you like to pause the video and talk about it with somebody or yourself? So let's see what you thought. Negative 3 times 2. Negative 3 times 2 makes negative 6. That's the middle number. Negative 3 times itself makes positive 9. And that's the last number. So we multiplied by 2, and then we multiplied by itself. Another way to think of that is square the number. Negative 3 squared makes positive 9. Does that work the same for number 3? Positive 4 times 2 makes 8. That's the middle number. How about positive 4 times itself makes 16. That's the last number. Or we think of it as positive 4 squared makes 16. This is the shortcut we should use from now on because it's faster. Let's try a few. X plus 10 squared. Well, I see x is the letter, so that means x squared will come first when I expand it because I'll be doing x times x. I see positive 10. So what I'm supposed to do for the middle term is say times 2. So plus 20, and then the letter goes next to it. The variable is x. For the last number, I'm supposed to square it or multiply it to itself. 10 times 10 is 100. So 100 goes there. I have to do no work, and I've expanded to my perfect square trinomial. Let's write down what it is that we are doing in each of these steps. I'm going to go back to the previous page, and instead of just showing what we're doing, let's write down what we're doing. So for this middle term, for that middle number, we are going to multiply by 2. And for this last number, we are going to multiply to itself. Or think of it as square it. Square the number. So let's try a few more. Y is the letter, so y squared will go first. Negative 9 is the number. Negative 9 times 2, negative 18. Put y, the variable, next. Negative 9 squared means negative 9 times negative 9, positive 81. It will always be positive because squaring a number always gives a positive. Yay! Isn't that so much easier? I know. How about you pause the video and try the last few on your own? X squared, the number is 1. 1 times 2 is 2, 2x. 1 times 1 is 1. There we go. How about number 7? Y is the letter, y squared. Negative 7. Negative 7 times 2, negative 14. Y is the letter. Negative 7 times negative 7, positive 49. Next, x is the variable, x squared. 3 halves, positive 3 halves is the number. 3 halves times 2, well, look at how I do this. 2 is like saying 2 over 1. 2 is in the numerator, 2 is in the denominator. They factor out. I'm left with 3 over 1, so plus 3x. Feel free to use a calculator if you prefer it. 3 over 2 gets multiplied to itself. 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 2 is 4. Finally, y is the variable. Y squared, 5 over 3, negative 5 over 3 times 2. Well, 2 over 1. So that's negative 10, and 3 times 1 is 3. Y is the variable. And negative 5 over 3 times negative 5 over 3. 5 times 5 is 25. 3 times 3 is 9. Did you get it? So let's take this in to our final objective. Converting the following from standard form to general form. Remember what general form looks like. ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equals 0. That's our general form. That's what we want it to look like. So notice there's no parentheses in general form, but we have parentheses here. So let's get rid of the parentheses by expanding each of these binomials. X minus 3 squared. Do you remember how to do it the shortcut way? X squared minus 3 times 2 is 6, so 6x, and 3 times 3 is 9. Now let's take this one and expand it. Now before I do, notice there was a plus sign in between those, so I'm going to write the plus sign in between our trinomials. Y plus 2 expands to y squared plus 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 squared is 4 again. The rest of the equation, don't forget about that, equals 16. Now we just have to rearrange. We need it to look like this, with x squareds and y squareds first. So here's x squared and here's y squared. Let's put those first. X squared plus y squared. Next comes the x and then the y. Here's the x term, minus 6x. Here's the y term, plus 4y. Lastly is the constants. Plus 9 is a constant, plus 4 is a constant, but I'm going to have another one because I need this to say equals 0. How do we do that? Subtract it. Minus 16, but I do it on both sides. This side will be 0. This side has another constant now. So what is 9 plus 4 minus 16? 9 plus 4 is 13. Take away 16 minus 16, get negative 3, and then equals 0. And there is our general form. Now the final part of our directions say identify C, D, and E. Remember that A and B always will be 1. The C is in front of the X, the D is in front of the Y, and the E is the constant. So here's our C, here's our D, and here is our E. C equals negative 6, D equals positive 4, and E is negative 3. Cool. Let's try number 2. Sometimes there's no binomial because the coordinate is 0. In that case, we just bring down that single term, that monomial. We still want to put the plus that's between the x's and the y's. And if we have a binomial squared, we still need to expand it. So expanding this is y squared minus 4 times 2 is 8, 8y, multiply by itself, or square it, is positive 16. Don't forget about the rest of the equation, equals 9. So now we need to arrange. The x squareds and the y squareds come first. Here's x squared, here's y squared. Write those first, x squared plus y squared. Then the x's and the y's. Well, I don't see any other x's, so just the y's, minus 8y. I see one constant over here, but remember we have to subtract this one to bring it over as well. 16 minus 9 is 7, so plus 7 equals 0. There is our general form. And now I look for my c, d, and e. C is in front of the x, but there is no x. The number for nothing is 0. D is in front of the y, and the e is the constant. So D is -8, and the e is 7. Cool. How about you pause the video, try the next few on your own, and come back and see how you did.